Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog, and I'm fucking annoyed. I'm just gonna call it what it is, man. I am fucking annoyed. I'm not just annoyed, I'm fucking annoyed, okay? Because all offseason, all I've been hearing about is Oklahoma City Thunder, Oklahoma City Thunder, OKC this, OKC that, OKC, 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 OKC. That's all I have fucking heard from these people. They're like, OKC is going to be a playoff team this year. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like, they're fucking kind of loaded with young talent. SGA is a good player. He has the ability to maybe be an MVP candidate this upcoming season if you're being naive at best, okay? He's a really, really good player, but he plays on a really, really bad team and usually when that happens, unless you do something generational, like what Russell Westbrook did when he won it, where you average a triple-double for the first time in like a century or 50 years or some crazy shit like that, like, that's the only time that you will ever win a league MVP while being a good player on a really, really shitty team. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Jokic and Russell Westbrook, I think, are probably the only guys I like to ever win the MVP award while being on a team that's like a 6 seed or less. It rarely ever fucking happens, okay? So, all I've been hearing is about that. Chet Holmgren looked really good in preseason, and I get that, okay? Josh Giddey's very good. Jalen Williams is very good. You know, it's just the idea, like, they had a decent draft, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a team that people are looking at. They have Lou Dort. Like, people are talking about them, though, like they're the next big thing. And I'm just going to say this. For whatever reason, okay, the Utah Jazz are getting zero respect. Zero respect. There's no respect at all for what the Utah Jazz have done this offseason, okay? They have a shit ton of draft picks from trading Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, okay? And somehow they still managed to be a competitive basketball team after that. I would say they overperformed last season, okay? I think we all agree. They overperformed last season. They played way better than people expected. And then what do? They go into the offseason, they draft Taylor Hendricks, okay? They add Chris Dunn as their backup point guard. They get John Collins for a future second-round pick and a guy who's not even on a fucking team anymore in Rudy Gay. And all anyone can talk about is OKC, okay? Like, this is a team that is going to be incredibly fucking good. They retained Jordan Clarkson. Like, this is a team who right now, their starting five is Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, and Walker Kessler. That's their starting five, okay? Now, you could debate that Jordan Clarkson could be the sixth man again, and Ochai Agbaji could be the starter. I don't really think that's going to happen, but it's just the idea, like, it's a possibility if you want the scoring punch off the bench, even though Ochai Agbaji has been amazing so far as a player for the Utah Jazz. But their bench unit is Chris Dunn, Ochai Agbaji, Talen Horton-Tucker, Kelly Olynyk, and Taylor Hendricks. Not to mention that they got Keontae George in the draft, who absolutely lit the fucking NBA Summer League on fire. The dude was going fucking ham, okay? Like, yeah, Keontae George may not be an NBA player right now, but Keontae George is very, very good, okay? He's a guy that people looked at in Summer League and were talking about he's the steal of the fucking draft. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't understand how people can keep this energy about OKC and completely ignore what Utah did. Like, I get it. John Collins is a weird pickup. You know what I'm saying? Because you have Lauri Markkanen already. Walker Kessler was in Rookie of the Year talks. I would argue Paolo Banchero probably shouldn't have even won Rookie of the Year with how shitty he shot efficiently last. Like, Paolo Banchero's efficiency numbers were awful last year. They weren't just bad. They were fucking awful. Okay, like, there's a legitimate argument to make that Walker Kessler probably should have been Rookie of the Year. And people, for whatever reason, are just, like, writing them off. Like, everyone's like, oh, OKC's gonna finish with a better record. I kind of don't think so. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, actually, OKC, they have Josh Giddey. You know, they have Jalen Williams. They may have more talent, but the Utah Jazz have more experience. Okay? Colin Sexton is one of, I would honestly, efficiency-wise for a point guard, dude can ball. Okay, I understand he has a bad reputation as like a ball hog, a guy who shoots a shot every time he touches the ball, but you know what? He's like almost like he's a dude who shoots 50% from the field almost every year and like 40% from three, 40+%. Are you really gonna bitch when your ball hog is that efficient from like shooting from fucking everywhere? They have Colin Sexton as their point guard. They have Jordan Clarkson as their shooting guard, who is a bona fide bucket. Like, he's a dude that is in the conversation for sixth man of the year almost every year. Like, he's one of the better bench scorers in the NBA. They have Lauri Markkanen, who was just an all-star last year. John Collins, I get it. He's got the attitude problem. Dude wants to be like the number one option on any team, but he's going to a completely different situation where I think hopefully he understands that he's not going to be the number one option. He will be a part of what goes on there, but they play team basketball. Like, Lauri Markkanen is probably their number one option. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. Like, Lauri Markkanen is that fucking good. You know, he showed us last season that, like, he's capable of going out there and being a number one option for some team. Maybe he's not going to lead a team to the playoffs by himself, but he's a dude that's capable of going out there and grabbing you 20 plus a game. You know, and John Collins is a guy who's he's going to be a floor spacer. Like, he can rebound the basketball. He can shoot the three. Defensively, he's aight. You know what I'm saying? He's not elite by any means, but he's capable. And Walker Kessler, the dude's a walking defensive player of the year. Like, he's a walking future defensive player of the year. That's what Walker Kessler is. Okay? And I think to myself, like, everybody's writing them off. Like, I got the Utah Jazz. Like, I know everybody's projecting OKC to win maybe 42. I kind of think Utah's probably going to be in the conversation for 47 wins. Like, and I know that sounds like a stretch. It sounds aggressive, but like, they have their front court is not only tall, but it can do a little bit of everything with exceptional Walker Kessler. You know, Lauri Markkanen can put the ball on the floor a little bit. John Collins can even do that a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Not a whole lot. It's not a lot that you look at and go like, okay, yeah, it's Kevin Durant-esque, because it's not. Okay? But it's just the idea. It's like, I look at this team and I'm like, they got significantly better for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a team that, like even with the Pacers, like, teams are talking about the Pacers are going to fucking upset the league. They're going to do this. They're going to be a hard out. Dude, Utah got better too. The Lakers got better. The fucking Dallas Mavericks got better. Like, there's a lot of teams that got better, and Utah is just one of those teams that, like, everybody seems to be riding off. I'm going to be honest. Their bench unit is going to be the thing that's like the real difference maker for them. You know, because they have Ochai Agbaji, and they got the guy I wanted in the fucking draft in Taylor Hendricks. Yes, the Pacers got Jarris Walker. Jarris Walker is going to be a great defender, but offensively, he's got some question marks. Taylor Hendricks was the guy I looked at, and I go, this is fucking Paul George. Okay, like, that's an insane claim coming from me. I'm like, I know that's gonna ruffle some feathers. I don't give a shit. Taylor Hendricks was a guy that I looked at and I watched him play in college. And I'm like, bro, he shoots the fucking three. He can block shots. Not a great mid-range shooter. That was all Paul George shit when he entered the fucking league. Like, I'm just gonna say this: Taylor Hendricks' potential, his potential, is future league MVP. And there's going to be people who are like, you are fucking crazy. You are fucking asinine. That is fine. I will take all that. But Taylor Hendricks is a guy that I watched in college. I was like, yeah, like that dude's going to be fucking great. And while I do think there's going to be an adjustment period, he's not one of those guys that's I think going to be impactful right away. But he's a dude that as the season goes on, after the All-Star break, I'm going to be watching. You know, if the Utah Jazz, even though I think they're going to win probably anywhere from 45 to 47 games, like, they're a team that I'm looking at and I'm like, you know what? If for whatever reason they have injuries and shit goes down, like, say, I don't know, John Collins gets injured or Lauri Markkanen gets injured, Taylor Hendricks is the guy that I'm looking to step up. Like, I know that sounds crazy because they're probably going to put Talen Horton-Tucker in that position, but Taylor Hendricks is the guy that I'm like, please give him as much playing time as you can give him, because Ochai Agbaji is going to be getting playing time, and Ochai Agbaji can fucking ball, okay? His athleticism is like, just criminally fucking underrated. Like, their bench unit is going to be Chris Dunn, Ochai Agbaji, and Taylor Hendricks. Like, yeah, Kelly Olynyk, not the greatest backup center in the world, but he's serviceable. Like, he's solid. And honestly, this is a team that maybe they could pull off a trade for one of the centers from Detroit, whether it's Isaiah Stewart or James Wiseman, because I know it's not going to be Jalen Duren. But if they could pull off something like that, if Danny Ainge can pull off a James Wiseman or an Isaiah Stewart, then we start getting into, okay, like they've got a legitimate rebounding threat underneath the basket now as a backup center. Like I said, they still have Keontae George, who is, granted, Keontae George is only going to get garbage minutes, or if the team decides to tank it at the All-Star break. Depending on, like I said, depending on how it goes. But, like, I just am tired of hearing everyone talk about Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City. Bro, the fucking Utah Jazz are going to be, like, a really, like, they were good last year without John Collins. And now they have John Collins. We got second-year Ochai Agbaji, who I think is going to be, I think Ochai Agbaji is going to, like, impress some people this year. I think he's going to get more shot attempts. He's a dude that from the corner, oh, forget it. The corner three, Ochai Agbaji is a dude that I'm just like, yeah, like he can hit that bitch in his sleep, okay? So, like, I look at this team and I just think to myself, people are sleeping so heavy on the Utah Jazz. I know last year they didn't win, like, a whole lot of fucking games. Like, if I look at their record, where's Utah? Utah last year, they went 37-45, like, and that was with a roster that really wasn't that great. You know, like, this is a team now that got significantly better, and Taylor Hendricks is a good defender, okay? John Collins is, like, he's all right, like, he's serviceable, but it's just the idea. I think this is a team that's really, really going to shock some people. Like, I am going to say that. Like, they're a team that I legitimately think is going to shock people. I mean, you have a pick and pop and a pick and roll game with no matter what, like just put this in your mind for a minute. You have Colin Sexton, who is a very, very efficient point guard. Dude shoots like 50% from the field, 40% from three every year, 80% from the free throw line, like usually 80+%, okay? You have Colin Sexton. You can run a pick and roll with anybody on that fucking team, or a pick and pop with anybody on that fucking team for the most part, except for Jordan Clarkson. And you have dual ball handlers, and Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson. The fucking pick and roll game, the pick and pop game is going to be fucking insane in Utah. You have Lauri Markkanen and John Collins, who can both shoot the three. Jordan Clarkson can shoot the three. Colin Sexton can shoot the three. Jordan Clarkson can get to the basket. Lauri Markkanen can get to the basket. John Collins, he's alright, but he's here and there. But he can also get to the basket when he wants to. John Collins is a lob threat. Like, it's just the idea, like, they can run the pick and pop or the pick and roll with literally pretty much anybody on their fucking team except for Jordan Clarkson and Walker Kessler. Okay? Like, the Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, like, you can have Colin Sexton bring the ball up. You can have Lauri Markkanen bring the ball up. You can have John Collins be your screen man. You can have Walker Kessler be your screen man. You can have Lauri Markkanen be your screen man. You can have Jordan Clarkson can bring the ball up and get a screen and kick out to Colin Sexton or kick out to Lauri Markkanen or kick out to John Collins. Like, it is going to be fucking insane. And I just think to myself, we're talking OKC. Like, honestly, there's a chance Utah has a better record than OKC this year. And don't get me wrong, no disrespect to OKC, but I am just tired of the Utah Jazz disrespect. I'm tired of it because Danny Ainge has done a great job of turning this team around. And they got Will Hardy still, I think, as their head coach, right? Will Hardy is still their head coach. Former Spurs assistant to Greg Popovich, right? Yep, Will Hardy is their head coach again this year. Like, come on, bro. Like, I really think Utah is going to be one of those teams that they're gonna compete. They're gonna be a hard team to beat, and they're gonna be a team that wins more games than people think they're capable of. You know, like, this is a team that I look at and I'm like, everybody, like, they have a tall lineup, with the exception of their guard play. Like, Lauri Markkanen's tall, Jordan Clarkson is tall, or not Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen's tall, John Collins is tall, and Walker Kessler's tall. Like, their defense, like, no, who's gonna score in the paint on them? You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at. I'm like, who's scoring in the paint on this team? I don't know, man. Like, I get that Lauri Markkanen and John Collins aren't exactly world hurters on defense, but they're fucking tall. They're lanky. And I'm excited to see how they use John Collins. That's what I'm most excited about here, is to see, like, is John Collins going to be a focal point? Probably not. He's probably going to be, like, their number 2 or number 3 option, just like he was in Atlanta, but they got him for nothing. They got him for zilch. Nada. They got him for 37-year-old Rudy Gay and a future second-round pick. That was a salary cap dump by the Atlanta Hawks. And, you know, like, John Collins in his prime, okay, like, John Collins, when he was with the Atlanta Hawks, let me find it. John Collins, okay, last year was a 13-6 guy, 13.5. But, like, he's had seasons where he's averaged 21-10, where when you make him a focal point. Like, granted, yeah, that season was 41 games, but let's look at a year like when he played 63 games, because 65 is, like, the standard now. This is a dude who can go out there and average 17.5 and 7.5 boards a game for you if you put the ball in his hands. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I just think to myself, I feel like this lineup might change a little bit as time. For all I know, like, somebody in their starting lineup might get relegated to the bench unit, whether it's John Collins or it's not going to be Lauri Markkanen, but maybe John Collins ends up becoming a bench player and they move Taylor Hendricks into the starting lineup just to give some more scoring punch off the bench. But I feel like John Collins is going to be the guy that does a majority of the scoring with the bench unit. Like, he's going to start, but his real value or his minutes are going to come from playing with the bench unit, with Chris Dunn out there, with Taylor Horton-Tucker out there, with Ochai Agbaji out there, with Taylor Hendricks out there, okay? That's where I think his value is going to come from. And while I understand, like, yeah, John Collins may want to be, like, the number 1 guy or the number 2 guy, that's not really ever going to happen because I don't think he's proven himself to be that guy. But it's just the idea, like, with those guys, yeah, John Collins is going to be the leader on the floor in that point. And you know what? You can take Lauri Markkanen off, put John Collins on, like, kind of like what Atlanta does with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray in a way. I think that's going to be what Utah mirrors to some extent. But, like, this is a team that I think the possibilities are fucking endless, and nobody's showing them no respect. Nobody. I mean, like, everybody's got the fucking Pacers and OKC winning, like, 45 to 50 games before Utah. And I'm like, Utah's kind of got a better roster in a way. Like, maybe not compared to Indiana, because Indiana's deep as fuck. But it's just the idea, like, I look at this team and I'm like, nobody's showing them any respect. Like, OKC, solid squad. But I look at Utah and I'm like, they have a pretty solid squad too. So, I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. But tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. Like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.